All right, Josh Smith here. We're at my studio, live from Flat 5. My guest today is one of my just favorite artists out on the scene. Obviously, he's a tremendous guitar player, but he's a great writer and a great singer, and he really has his voice, which is something we all strive to do in this world. And in the world that I come and come up from, the blues and blues rock world, it's actually kind of not a good thing sometimes to have your own place, your own voice, your own vision. And this man has that. He really has found his sound. And that's the stuff that excites me, man. I really love your music. So it's a pleasure to have you on here.
Ah,
In Chicago right now, but he hails from the Isle of Man over in the UK. But give it up, Davy Knowles.
yeah, cheers very much, mate. You're making me blush.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, it's true. Like, in the blues world, there's not always an onus put on trying to write great songs, trying to do something new. It's either, oh,
Mm,
you're a historian or you're just some blues rock fraud, and that drives me
yeah,
crazy because there seems to be no middle ground for people who really love the blues and respect it and have done their homework, but also at the same time are trying to be honest to themselves and push things forward. And I really hear
mm.
that in your music and in your playing, man.
That means the world, man. And I think you've said it beautifully. And the folks that I grew up listening to had always kind of occupied that spot of progressing it, I guess, in some degree. When I listen to John Mayall, for example, and you listen to the songs that he writes, he might do it in a very traditional way sometimes, but man, what a great storyteller. He always made it relatable, to someone of his upbringing, of his corner of the world. And I've always admired that. I've always admired accessibility to that. I didn't grow up in the deep south. I didn't grow up. I grew up on a tiny little island in the middle of the Irish Sea, and so it was difficult for me to relate to all of that as much as I loved it musically.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing people don't necessarily realize when they somehow fall into this role of savior, survivalist, historian of music, and the people that they idolize and that they're out there, copying basically and trying to preserve, those
Yeah,
people were being honest to themselves. They were playing what they heard and felt and relaying the experience of their life. And if you are influenced by them, what an injustice it is to their music if you don't do the same. If you're just
mm-hmm.
aping their shit and not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything new. I mean, they were playing to the best of their ability on the best gear that they could afford and writing and
Mm-hmm.
playing the best that they possibly could in their world. And they would be
Yeah,
embarrassed to know that you're maybe not doing that. You're just, oh, I'm just going to do what that guy did, And yeah, so
absolutely.
yeah, that stuff drives me
Yeah.
crazy, and I could talk about it forever. So we'll get off of
Oh
it.
man, I found out very, very, very quickly that I'm just never going to be able to play a 12 bar like Albert King is, or I'm just never going to get near to that. So you just, I guess it's just kind of trying to combine everything and find just whatever tiny little gap you feel you can fit into,
Yeah.
that makes you feel good. It's just, yeah, man, and I think being a purist gets you nowhere. There's just so much great music out there, and I just think it's important to listen to as much and absorb as much as you possibly can. And
Yeah.
I like that what you were saying there about doing people an injustice. If you're even looking at the blues side of things, um, just how broad a genre that is. You're
Hmm.
going from Alan Lomax field recordings all the way up to modern blues guys, your Joe Bonamassas, your Kenny Wayne Shepherds, and the differences stylistically between that, all under this umbrella. I think that's something to be celebrated. The diversity of
Absolutely.
it.
Uh, it should be celebrated. It
Mm,
should be rewarded and championed. We're trying to, at
mhm,
the same time, show our love and respect for the music that basically is responsible for us and is the foundation of what we do, but at the same time, be
mhm.
ourselves, which is the goal.
Yeah.
Things,
Yes.
especially as we're improvisers too. And my goodness,
Hmm.
the whole goal of improvisation is to tell your story. If you're improving in character, that's acting. That's not improv. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
that's reading a script.
yeah, man. Well said.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
Moving backwards though, when did the light switch get flipped for you? I want to know who put the guitar in your hands the first time. Do you have a musical family or not? Were you on your own, or was somebody needling you or teaching you stuff? How did it start for you?
There was always music in my house. I wouldn't say we were a particularly musical family. My dad played a lot of acoustic guitar. He was massively influenced by the English folk movement of the '60s.
Hmm.
Bert Jansch, John Renbourn, the
Yeah.
Pentangle, um, that side of stuff. He loved the Invisible String Band, which was this madcap. They were totally mad. But he also loved the British blues boom and John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. So from an early age, I was listening to all of that, and my dad was playing, Puff the Magic Dragon, know,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have an older sister, and she really got into Mitchell and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and that whole singer-songwriter thing. And so I was listening to that too. And then when she found this magazine called The Blues Collection, it came with a cassette tape every fortnight, and she was introducing me at that stage. I must have been about 7 or 8, maybe at this point. She was forcing me really to listen to Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry and John Lee Hooker and Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, and all of these kind of cassette tapes that she was getting, she was sharing with me. So this was before I'd picked up a guitar. And then when I was 11, my dad had picked me up from a friend's house, and on the way home, he put in this cassette tape of Dire Straits.
Hmm.
And it was Sultans of Swing. And that was immediately like, Dad, you got to show me how to play this. And he's like, I have no idea how to play this, but we can get you started. And so from then on, really, it was just, I wanted to be Mark Knopfler. It was that whole solo at the end, that was it. That was, I'm going out buying a headband and I want to be Mark Knopfler.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, man, it's amazing how, the way you experience something first, it just kind of sets you off down this path. And yeah, you're just in the car and that song comes on. That's the way I felt the first time I heard BB King start a slow blues. My dad put on
Mm-hmm.
probably live at the Regal. It might have been Blues is
Wow.
King. I don't know. But my dad he was not a musician, but he had a giant vinyl collection. And we would
Yeah.
listen to the Allman Brothers, the Stones, Hendrix, and I liked all that. But he put on BB King, and I heard the whatever,
Yeah.
and it was like the heaven, the skies parted, and
Uh-huh.
it's all very clear now. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been waiting for. My cue basically. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
amazing how that
Just a
happened.
flash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For
So okay,
sure.
so do you take lessons then? Do they find you somebody to hang around with, to study with, or are you teaching yourself?
So I, I signed up for guitar lessons at school with an incredibly patient man called Mr. Lum. And I'm kind of ADD. I have a real short attention span with these things. And he was doing the exact, correct thing to do of, right, let's learn how to read music. Let's start way from the bottom. And quite frankly, it was, I don't want to do that, man. I want to be able to play Telegraph Road, all the way through. And so I ended up learning a few kind of rudimentary things from him for sure, but mainly my guitar lessons were I would skip class to go and jam with him. And he was incredibly accommodating and very nice. But all the while, I had this VHS of Mark Knopfler live in London,
Mm.
and I was just watching it and over again trying to get Sultans of Swing down, this live version that he did. And so really that was my first note for note kind of solo, was I'd learned watching him kind of where his fingers were going. There can't be too many notes, in this little spot here. So figuring it out from there with a bit of guidance. And so that I never really I never got any grades. I never took any exams with it, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, okay, so you live in a really, small, not hugely populated spot. So what happened when you started to get better? Because obviously you're probably progressing very fast because you're obsessed. You're probably super into it and working really hard.
Uh-huh.
So what happens when it's time to, get together and find an outlet for this? What do you do? Who do you play with? Where do you start finding ways to, to grow?
The first thing I really did was there was a small blues festival on the island, and I sent them I think an email, early email kind of thing, and it was, um, "Hey, can I come and sit in? I don't have a band, but I can play a little, and I just really want to meet people and play." And the Isle of Man is a really close knit community. I mean, it's really tight knit. And they said, "Yeah, come on down, come and play. Bring an amp. You know, this is the time." I went to this pub, kind of, it was a blues festival open mic situation, and I went and sat in with a band, and I ended up joining them. They were all my dad's age, and
Hmm.
my dad, kind of knew them. You knew everyone. Um, and I ended up joining them when I was 13 or 14. And I mean, the great thing back home was there was no real drinking age in a pub, right? If you behaved yourself at 15, you could order a pint, you know.
Hmm.
And that led to a lot of great live music because kids could go in and play and not worry about, getting caught. You could fly under the radar really easy.
Right.
So yeah, I was gigging from about 13, I guess, with this band Roadhouse. Um, and then that led to playing with a singer-songwriter called Barry Nelson, which really kind of got me out of the blues band thing and into more song-orientated stuff. Uh, and then at about 15, 16, I really wanted to form my own band, and I found some guys at school. And that was the beginning of Backdoor Slam. That was the first band that came over to the States.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how fast it goes
Yeah.
when, once you start playing with
Mm,
adults. Like I can relate to that story. I mean, going to a blues jam because I was frustrated, couldn't find anyone my age who liked what I liked or who was quite honestly as dedicated as I was to working and being better. So I went to
mm.
blues jams, played with adults. They saw the cliche, possibilities and asked me to start playing gigs with them because more people would show up to see the novelty of this little kid. And next thing you know, I'm playing,
Yeah,
3, 4 nights a week as a 13-year-old. And that's just,
yeah.
and once that happens, you're hooked for life. I mean, there's no going back.
Mhm.
It's just,
Agreed.
it's such a great feeling. Man, that's,
It,
well,
it does
okay.
go quick though. You're right.
It,
Yeah,
it goes
just
really
how
fast.
fast that. Yeah, it was
And
mad to look at it like that.
you grow leaps and bounds literally weekly almost on those gigs. The experience
Right.
gained, it's so fast. I've been digitizing a bunch of videos of myself from that period lately just before
Uh,
the VHS goes away. And the one thing that struck me, while I'll watch for 30 seconds and then turn the volume off and just let it run. But one thing that struck me was like the difference in my playing from 13 to 13 and a half to 14 and then really, whoa, 15. It was like I was like a whole nother person. And also I looked
yeah.
completely different. I shot up a foot, but whatever. It was like, wow, I was progressing so fast, but you don't notice it
Uh
then.
huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the social aspect, right? You've gone from playing in your bedroom, and gathering a load of licks and what you think is, the right thing to do, and then suddenly you have to interact with human beings who are constantly moving, constantly doing different things, and you have to react to it, and you have to think on your feet like that. And I often wonder, in first of all, in the lockdown situation that we're in right now, and but also the remoteness of everything, that the kind of Instagram genre that has popped up.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Playing music is such a massively social thing, and I feel like it is, a person-to-person interaction in the room. I wonder what's going to happen, as things kind of. I just see this huge genre of Instagram guitar players who are wonderful musicians, God, far better than I am, but it's the social aspect of music that I really love. And,
Oh
and
yeah.
I wonder if that's going to suffer, or it's just going to, am I being a dinosaur now? Is this just going to
No, I mean,
progress as well?
it's suffering right now because of the pandemic. Obviously, I quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I'm struggling with it. Because I could sit here all day long and start off a blues whatever. And that's an improv, right? I just improvised 12 bars and it was okay. But that's improvisation in a fucking vacuum. It's not
Uh,
living and breathing.
sure.
And I've spent 30 years improving with other musicians, and
Mhm.
that's literally, I would say, tied to 90% of my being. Like, that's who I
Mhm.
am, and it's gone. It's just gone.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't get as any, okay, it's not that I dislike what I just did, but that's practicing. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah, but
fun.
I'm just trying to think if I could play like you're suffering,
But you,
I'd be
you
all
know the
right.
feeling. Like, I would literally, I would beg, borrow, or steal right now to play a shuffle with the worst musicians in the world for an hour right now straight.
Yeah.
I'd play one
Yeah.
shuffle where I don't even care if the guy could play whatever. I'd play that for an hour right now with people just to have that outlet because it's been taken from
Yeah.
me. I yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's the psychological effect for sure. This is what I've done since I was 19, and so to have that, you're not allowed to do this anymore. That's really tough. That's a really tough kind of thing to wrap my head around. But yeah, man, the whole social aspect of it pushes you to play better. Um, I mean, being a kid, playing with a bunch of guys your dad's age, you're the worst musician in the room, and I think that's what you should strive to be. Right? Is always try and
Always.
be the worst musician. And I
Always.
love that. Yeah, I love that quote Martin Offler came up with, or at least I heard him say it, and it was just, I am the worst musician in my band, but because I write the songs, they can't fire me. And I just thought that was brilliant, and I always kind of wanted to be, more that guy of you know, this is my kind of, these are my songs, this is my brain, but you can play them a lot better than I can, kind of thing. This
Yeah.
is, I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
mean, when you get around better musicians, again, it
Mm,
accelerates your growth and it's an extreme motivating factor. Like you want to live up to your end of the bargain when you're around these
yeah.
guys, it's like so that was yeah, for me it was always incredibly motivating. If I made a mistake on a gig one week and someone mentioned it to me, normally they didn't even have to. I just knew that mistake would
Hmm.
never happen again on next week's gig. Never. Never again that
Yeah.
same mistake. And yeah,
And
it's a
that
great
was the beauty of gigging too, was that you make a mistake, the next night you have an opportunity to put it right, and that's a wonderful training ground.
Absolutely, man. All right, so you start then Backdoor Slam with guys from school, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, there were four guys, four of us. So it was Jamie Armstrong originally on bass. We had Ross Doyle on drums, and a friend of ours, Brian Garvey, on rhythm guitar. And sadly, when we were 16, we lost Brian and another friend of ours in a car accident.
Mm.
And that was kind of from then on. I mean, I never had a rhythm guitar player after that. It just felt really weird replacing him. But we we really kind of were like minds, and we really wanted to write music, and we really wanted to play original music. It wasn't just going out there to the bars and playing. Um, we play a few covers, but it was no. We really want to hammer home that we write songs, and we are an original band, and it went really well. I mean, the Isle of Man was such a small place, but we could play, 4 nights a week really while we were still at school, and it was fabulous. We felt, like we were conquering the Isle of Man, big fish in a little pond. And then
Yeah,
it came to, yeah, university time, and we decided to give it a gap year. Our bass player left. Um, and we got Adam Jones in, and then at the end of that year, we got a record deal, and we came out to the States, and it was off to the races. That was it for us. That we'd made it. Really, that's what we wanted, to come to the States.
that's man. What's so cool about that to me is, and where I can't relate is that it must have been just this feeling of camaraderie. You're with like-minded,
Mm.
like-aged group people from your part of town, basically your world, and you all kind of decided to approach this same goal together. That has to be a great
Hmm.
feeling, to be around people like that. That it's like you're a
Oh
team.
yeah, Yeah, it was brilliant. We were all sharing the same thing, and it all happened so fast. I mean, one minute we were playing a pub in the Isle of Man to 30 people jammed up like sardines,
Right.
and the next minute we were playing South by Southwest, and then we went on a big tours, and it was a huge learning curve. And while it was fantastic to share that, it also blew the whole thing apart.
Sure.
It just didn't really translate in what we were doing on the Isle of Man. It just didn't really work on a bigger scale for us. And
Right.
and that was kind of, it fizzled out. Yeah.
There's another interesting thing that happens with child musicians. I'd like to know the
Mm,
percentages, but like there's, a lot of those bands that are kids together, grow up together. It's one or two that become career musicians in the end. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Normally one, it seems like. I'm curious what really the percentages would be on that. But
Yeah.
when the rubber hits
Yeah.
the road and you really got to make those tough choices, like this is what I am as a person.
Yeah. Right.
Not everybody is cut out for that 100%.
Mhm. I think
Yeah.
it's when you're faced with no choice, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you just have absolutely no choice in the matter. We were on tour with Government Mule when it really kind of, to me, like Warren, his repertoire and his ability to cover anything and still make it sound like him at the same time as write these fantastic songs that were all his, but really stemmed from the music that I grew up listening to as well. I
Mhm.
shared the same kind of influences. I saw him as this musicologist type, this guy who could do anything, play anything, and I saw him as the measure. And I saw that, and the other lads weren't really willing to participate. And that for me was frightening as a 21-year-old of going, holy, we've reached the ceiling here. And so it kind of fell apart. But yeah, I'm not sure what the other lads are really doing. But I had no choice. This is what I have to go and do. I want to achieve this and keep achieving this. And so it was, off on your own time. But
Yep.
yeah, and again, the child musician thing was strange. We were young, and I guess there's always this idea of, oh man, isn't he great for his age? Look at him, he's just
Yeah.
skinny little 13-year-old, or
Yep.
and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be good, full stop.
Unfortunately, you were that age, so it's like it's unavoidable. You know what I mean? But I mean, yeah, I dealt with it
Totally.
forever.
Yeah.
He's so great for his age. Look at
Hmm.
this kid, and it's like, well, I just want to be just judge me on my playing. Don't judge me on anything else. Judge me
Uh-huh.
on my songs, my whatever. But it's impossible for people to separate because it's still the truth. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
but eventually, yeah, it's like you grow out of. Dude, I still do. I'm sure you do now. I still deal with constantly. People will tag me in a picture from back then, or ask me questions about that back then, or mostly just tell me I saw you when blah blah blah, and it's like they don't know what I do now at all. Have you heard any of my
Right. Right.
records? Like, do you know anything
Right.
about me at all? No, no, not at
My
all.
favorite thing is the promoters that you give all of this brand new promotional material to, and they decide, no, I'm going to go find a photo on Google on like page 36
Yeah,
of when you look like you were 12 years old
yeah.
and 100 pounds later, and here you go, and I'll put this on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, I love I'm
Yeah.
40 years old and I go into New York City or something to play at, Iridium or Bitter End or something and or bottom
Mhm.
line, not bottom line anymore, Bitter End. And it'll use a bio that they found from 1997 that says, having released his second album by the age of 15, Josh Smith is a true blues virtuoso. And it's like, that's what you
Yes,
chose to,
man.
like, where'd you even
How
find
did,
that? Let alone,
where does it come from?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Drives me
But
crazy.
the other kind of slightly arrogant side of me wanted to take these people and kind of throttle them and say, but man, this has never been like an old man's game. Like, this is like, Clapton was a teenager in the Yardbirds,
Hmm.
and Hendrix was 27. When he died. This
Yep.
has always been, young guys. Muddy Waters wasn't an old man his whole life.
No.
It's it's a it's a stereotype to try and shake, you know. Oh man, this is great new up, you know, he's young, and they were all young, man. They were all young, and they all did great things. You
Well,
know,
it's funny
those
interviewing all my friends, I come up thinking I'm so unique. I have this person. I was this kid who played in bars at 12 years old and did this. Every one of the people I've interviewed has the same fucking story. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, dear.
Oh, all right. So then when Backdoor Slam kind of ends and you all decide to part ways,
Mm-hmm.
is it I'm not going to play any of those
Mm.
songs anymore? I got to write a whole new repertoire, or is it just immediate pivot to calling it Davy Knowles?
Well, I mean, the label I was signed with at the time, they made this sketchy call. I wanted just under my name, right? I'd written all of the songs for Backdoor Slam.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, they're still my songs.
Right.
But I wanted to do something new and something different, and I certainly didn't want to just, you know, dismiss all of their hard work. But the label at the time wanted to call it Davy Knowles and Backdoor Slam, and the kind of proviso, well, let's do that for one album, and then we're off to the races. And then the most amazing thing happened in that I got to working with Peter Frampton right after that, which was kind of this, you know, oh God, I did the right thing. You know, thank God things are progressing, and you know, and that was a wonderful experience working with him. And really, the momentum that I kept up with Backdoor Slam, it kind of carried on with my name, and that was nice to know that, all right, I can do this. I can do this on my own as well.
Yeah.
And really, it just kind of snowballed into just an enormous amount of touring, just way too much touring, really. In hindsight, it was, you know, I was on the road probably 300 days, 250, 300 days of the year, and it was too much. And by the time the third album had come along, I was burnt out. I was ready to sit down and trying to figure out really who I was. And that took a long time, and I lost a lot of momentum as a result, but probably gained an enormous amount of sanity.
Right.
You know? So yeah, it's just tough finding a balance. And I feel like that's just a never ending quest, really. You know, as life progresses, you find the right balance between what you're doing.
Is certainly never ending. I mean, balancing out the family life. Now you're a grown man with a family. You've got to balance that against, the need to be away, the want to even be away and playing gigs because it's something that's part
Sure.
of our personality and something that we love. And then, the constant push to be the best you, the most original you, the most honest you as a musician, all those things. It's like you're just always trying to get them into balance. It's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the happiness, the general happiness. How long do I really need to be away? I need to, how can I make this happen? And at the same time, I mean, I've always been slightly nomadic. My dad was a very nomadic character as well. He was a deep sea diver by profession, so he was away, and I feel like I inherited that kind of nomadic personality for sure. But and again, this kind of the pandemic thing of you do long to be in between places again. It's not just being at the gig, being somewhere else. It's the process of doing it that I really love. So yeah, man. It took a long time to try and figure out a happy medium.
Yep.
For sure.
I mean, you're doing the right stuff, man. You're putting out your own music. You're doing it the right way, and I commend you for that. Before we get into the 10 questions, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about just Paul Reed Smith and kind of how that happened for you. I'm very interested in that, actually. Like, how did you meet Paul,
cool.
and how did that happen?
Well, it lined up like this without kind of rabbiting on too much. I had just gotten out of a meeting with a very well-known manufacturer who shall go nameless.
Okay.
And I'd gotten off a tour with Kid Rock and Leonard Skinner doing big arenas. And it was brilliant. And I thought, maybe I've got something on my resume. I can go to these folks. And I went for a meeting with their artist relations, and the guy sat me down. He said, well, man, look at it this way. You're already playing our instruments. So, and then secondly, like, we kind of reached our quota for artists this year. So we'll try again next time. And I thought, this is the dude. He's representing the company. And I thought, I wasn't asking for anything for free. I just wanted to start a relationship with this company. And I thought, this is the person they choose to represent. I'm not into it. And so I was kind of feeling, I got this random phone call, and it was, hi, this is Jack Higginbotham from Paul Reed Smith Guitars. I got your phone number from your management. They thought you might be interested. My wife has got your album. I really love it. Can we send you a guitar to check out? I was like, absolutely. I'd love that. It was just the most organic kind of, I really like your music, and my wife doesn't, would you be interested? Of course I would, my word. And I idolized PRS guitars as a kid, and they sent it to me. They next dayed this PRS McCarty to Seattle, where I was at the time. And it arrived in June. I was just like, sold, done, great, this is brilliant. And in the end, I ended up doing some PRS clinics and met Paul, and we just hit it off. He's just the sweetest guy. And we just had a good time together. And really, it just kind of shot on from there. To me, what struck me was the instruments are great. That's fine. They're wonderful. Great instruments. They kind of speak for themselves in that respect. Whether they are aesthetic or not, they're really well-made guitars.
Yeah, indeed.
To me, that it was the heart of the people that built them, and the people that I dealt with, and the people I've interacted with. That's what sold me on it. They're just really good people.
Yep.
And I first and foremost, I want to work with good people. That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing how simple it is, on the level that, you sometimes get to eventually, not talking out of turn to say things get thrown your way. So I've had many people offer me guitars and amps and pedals. That's just part of this life. And yeah, it's normally I'll go out of my way to work with someone I want to be involved with relationship wise, as opposed to just go get the gear that necessarily on the front is what I would normally gravitate to, but maybe they have no interest in really being a partnership with me or even a friendship. And yeah, that normally shapes it much more than the instruments themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a good example of the kind of heart with PRS was last Christmas. I get a letter from the head of oncology at Johns Hopkins, and I'm thinking, oh, this is really strange. And I open it, I read it through, and it's this is to notify you that Paul Reed Smith has made a donation in your name to the head of to oncology at Johns Hopkins. I just thought, bloody hell, what an unbelievably nice thing to do. And another one they did was, I was away on tour. My wife calls and she said, they've sent you a guitar. And I thought, oh my God, I wasn't expecting anything. It was really exciting. And I said, open it up, tell me what it is. And she said, there's a letter. It says, it's not for you. This is to give randomly to someone who you feel deserves it, or to a charity that could benefit from it. And I thought, this is the kind of company that I would like to be a part of. Just someone who goes out of their way to do something lovely like this and give me the chance to do something nice. So really, I mean, like I said, the guitars are fabulous, wonderful things. But what really sold me was the spirit of the company, really.
Well, that's good to hear, man. And I appreciate you, giving a little insight into that.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right, let's get into the 10 questions.
Oh, Christ. All right.
All right. So you kind of answered both 1 and 2 already, but I'm going to ask them anyways.
All right.
When you started learning playing, what was the first thing that when you got it under your fingers, you felt this like a sense of accomplishment? And it's like that feeling of, oh my God, I can't believe I figured this out. That's it. I'll do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think it was. as soon as that came along,
Yeah.
yeah, done.
Yeah. You figured it out, and it's like that feeling of accomplishment the first time of you really
Yeah,
really wanted to learn this thing and you got it. It's like, man,
yeah.
nothing feels like that.
And suddenly it sounded like that album that I coveted, and for so long. I could do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
So, and you already said number 2, that's the first solo you learn note for note.
Yeah, that. Oh
Yeah.
man.
And
Yeah,
you'll never
it's
forget it.
perfect.
You could be 80 and someone put a guitar in your hand, you could play it note for note.
Yeah, and what a testament that is to Mark Knopfler's melodicism and lyricism as a
Oh yeah.
player. It's just timeless.
It's one of those solos, even with as many notes are in it and how long actually it is, that
Sure,
non-musicians can sing you that whole solo. They can sing it to you,
absolutely.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
man.
amazing.
There's Telegraph Road as well, which stands out to me as one of his greatest songs, and it's 13 minutes long,
Yeah,
and there are so many guitar parts, but you can sing every single one of them. They're all perfect.
yeah, yeah. Oh, all right. Well, those were easy, man. You got off. We already talked about
Yeah, man.
it. All right.
All right, I'm getting nervous.
What's the first thing you play every time you pick up a guitar? Do your hands just go somewhere and play something
Oh.
automatically? Or like when you first get a guitar or try a guitar, do you have something you do to kind of, feel comfortable?
I guess there's this kind of David Grissom-y kind of thing in G, like a something like that's kind of meaty. I
Mm,
guess that's where I go immediately.
nice. Yeah, mine's in G now. It used to be an E,
Yeah.
and but
All
it
right.
transitioned into G over the years. Yeah.
Let's hear it. What is it?
Well, it's basically it used to be this in E, but everybody made
Uh-huh.
fun of me because I played it. You would hear I'd flip the standby on the amp, and then immediately this would come out. Something like that. And it would be I'd be checking
That's
my amp,
amazing.
and that would just come out. And next thing I knew, bass players would be playing it back to me before I could even do it. You know what I mean? It'd be like because they knew it was coming. So eventually, it moved into this, something like that.
What is
Pretty.
wrong with that's the most amazing thing. That sounds like the most like glorious intro to everything. Just
But
it's
it's
fantastic.
inevitably if I pick up a guitar, I will play that. Like, you know, if any like random off the cuff video you see of me that I didn't take on YouTube or Instagram, there's almost a 99% chance that at the beginning of that video, if I sit down in a music store or something, that's the first thing that comes out.
I think what we need next is Natasha Kornblatt to make a kind of a whole video of every single time you've done it on the internet, right?
Yeah, I'm
Let's
sure
make like a
there's many.
let's make a mashup of all of them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, number 4. What do you
Uh-huh.
hear in here? Like, what's the narration that happens during the day when you're cooking or when you're driving? Is there a groove, a key, a style? I'm hearing a shuffle. I'm hearing an improv, somebody blowing. I'm hearing something. I'm hearing, and it never stops. Literally, it's almost 24 hours a day. Do you have anything like that?
Wow. You know, that's an amazing question. I I think mine is a little less upbeat. I think if I'm hearing something, it's more kind of atmospheric, I guess. And I'm trying to think of something that's just real. I don't know, more of like I don't know. More that kind of. those kinds of
So you're hearing
that
minor
more
all the
that.
time, man. You're hearing minor.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot more kind of a lot sadder. I'm all right. I'm all right. Promise. Just kind of more.
It's been
You know.
interesting. Everybody's answer has been so different. They all have something.
Really.
You know, most of them are, it's depending on what they're working on. Like if they're working on something, they'll just have something living there for weeks on end. And other guys have things
Yeah.
like what I'm saying that just lives in there all the time, you know, but
Yeah.
they've all been very different. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. That's a really interesting. Yeah.
All right.
Interesting thing.
All right, number 5. When did you
Hmm.
feel like you kind of started to find your voice on the instrument? Like when did the pivot happen from you're learning all your favorite stuff by all your heroes, and then all of a sudden maybe something happens by accident, or someone you get a reaction out of audience or something by something you play, and it like kind of opens your eyes to like I should do more of this. This is my path. Was there a moment like that?
I don't know. I struggle. Um, I feel like I'm still finding that. I feel like that's a very much an ongoing thing. But sometimes I feel like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I haven't found that yet. Um, but I, I think it's always been a goal from the moment I wanted to write songs, which was really early on. It was, you know, I need to write a song. I need to write that. That's where the guitar aspect comes in for me. Um, so I think the intent to do that came with really early on with songwriting, but the actual um, achievement of it, I feel, is an ongoing thing.
Well, and it is. You sharpen it, and you keep
Hmm.
going. Once you even are aware of maybe what makes you you, you keep going further down that path to make it even more so. You
Yeah.
know, like this is my thing, and this is what I do. Um,
Hmm.
you know, because for me, I had a lot of moments as a kid, you know, of obsession with certain players. Like you said, you know, so you had Mark Knopfler. I was obsessed with BB, then with Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, then with Danny Gatton.
Hmm.
And it was like, you know, my Stevie period. That was all I did was sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan. But then I saw grown men who
Sure.
that was all they did, and it was like, okay, I need to not
Right.
do this. You know, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And I found that same thing about Stevie Ray. As much as I adore him as a musician, his style seemed so infectious to a lot of people to get that kind of neck pickup, that whole those kinds of things. I immediately wanted to stay clear of that, and
yeah.
so I felt like as much as I loved listening to it, and that was when I found someone like Rory Gallagher, who
Mm-hmm.
had this unbelievably unique, very
Oh yeah.
Celtic thing which appealed to my corner of the world. Those kinds of licks, you know, that became my Stevie Ray, if you like,
We'll talk
the my
about an
infectious thing.
individual voice, man. That's somebody
Yeah,
who found his thing, you know, and
yeah,
went as far as he could in service of that, you know.
totally uncompromised,
Yeah.
just kind
Yeah.
of bullheaded. Really, it was wonderful.
Yeah, but that's such a I mean, that's such a great, you know, whatever statement to of declaration. Like you have to that's what it
Yeah.
takes to kind of be your own man in this, you know, you want to improvisation is such a tricky thing because you're dealing
Hmm.
with music that's strict. You know, it may be certain chord changes. There's rules. There's things that work and things that don't, and you can ignore them.
Hmm.
People's ears can be forgiving. Your ears can be forgiving, but you know, in the end, we're playing in this giant sandbox, and what
Hmm.
do in there to like create something that's yours when everybody has access to the same information? You know, and
Right.
it's not
Right.
easy.
No, man. No, it's a total art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good answer. Number 6. What's your biggest weakness on the guitar, man? Mine
Oh,
is like finger picked acoustic, like really pretty arpeggiated. Like if I needed to be James Taylor, I would struggle, you know, to do that type of stuff. What's yours?
I'm gonna I'm gonna say with accuracy, uh, and um, and really kind of vocabulary from a theory point of view. Um, I I always wanted to be a guitar player, but my goal as a guitar player was never to be, you know, knowledgeable in absolutely everything. It was always to facilitate what I wanted to write about.
Mm.
I wanted to be a guitar player that wrote songs and therefore could play what I wanted to do, but maybe the song was the thing, right? And in that pursuit, I think I've also ignored a lot of technique, a lot of things that probably from a vocabulary standpoint have hindered me improvising wise. You know, I kind of stick with the same the kind of regular pentatonic stuff and my minor, and then you get my kind of accuracy too. I'm not that accurate, and I feel like, especially when I'm live and I'm all jazzed up, let's go, let's go, let's go, that goes out the window as well. It's just kind of noise. So I don't feel like I have, you know, I can't compete on Instagram Guitar Challenge. You know, it's just.
You don't want to, man. You don't want to compete on it.
Well, that, you know, it's a different path.
It's a different path. Yes. All right. Fair enough. Who's a huge influence on your music or playing that people would be really surprised to hear?
Oh man, I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. I
Ah,
adore Billy Joel.
that surprises me right off the bat. Okay.
I run the whole gamut of Joel. I'm not just talking about, you know, it's not just
So it's not Step
it's not just
Brothers, Catalina, Wine Mixer, 80. We strictly
no
play
man.
80s Joel, ma'am. You're all for it.
No
You're all
way.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, everything. Cold Spring Harbor to River of Dreams. I am a huge Billy Joel fan. I just feel like his sense of melody is incredible. Is not a Joel fan, and the argument goes like, she says it's terrible, it's cheesy, I hate it, and I say, but even though you hate it, you know every single song and you can sing them because they're that good, because they're just so melodic that the melody is beautiful. I'm a huge fan.
All right. That was a good
Yeah,
answer and completely got me.
thanks,
I,
man.
I wouldn't have thought it. But that's a good answer. All right. Okay. Would you rather have a great guitar and a shitty amp or vice versa? A terrible guitar but a great amp.
That's really hard. I'm gonna say a really great amp,
Yeah.
because I feel like an amp will kind of a really good amp will help you with a terrible guitar, whereas a terrible guitar is going to sound and feel terrible no matter what you plugged into.
Yeah, I'm with you. The amp is more important to me. And it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
the audience will get a better show out of me with any guitar and a good amp that I can get a consistent sound from versus even my
Mm-hmm.
guitar and some piece of junk. Like that yeah, I'll
Right,
take the amp every time.
which is kind of with the progression of how we tour, or how we used to tour, has made it really difficult, because now you're kind of faced with flying around, you can't use your own amp, and you have to address that whole problem, and that's where pedal boards come in, and trying to find that, you know, familiarity wherever you go is really difficult. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. When I've got my own rig, everything is great, but
Yeah, I mean, and that's the
it's
thing I
difficult.
think people forget when they, we all are obsessive about gear. We love gear. We're nerds. And then you've got the other end of the
Mm-hmm.
spectrum, the blues people and the purists who don't understand, why do you need all that shit? What do you need these pedals for? What do you need that for? This guy just plugs straight into the
Mm.
amp. Can't you do that? And it's not just about the gear, it's about the comfort factor. If you want to get the best show out of me as an audience member, then you want me as comfortable as possible, which means having my own stuff and the stuff that makes
Mm-hmm.
me feel good. So if it
Yeah.
makes me feel good to have this shit, then you should be happy I've got it. You know what I mean? That's I'm
Exactly.
yeah.
The other thing for that is, me having all of this shit isn't harming you or the guy that only plugs into an amp. So
Exactly.
what is the beef?
Uh,
You know?
They don't see it that way, though. They see it that way. You're
No.
this is a personal affront to them that you're
Yeah,
unfair.
yeah, yeah. People get really riled up about it.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep. I will argue that till I'm blue in the face. I don't mind having
I'm
that
with
argument.
you.
Yeah. All
I'm
right.
on your side.
Number 9. Dude, what keeps you motivated and pushing forward to be better every day? Like, obviously you've got financial concerns that keep you motivated, but
Mhm.
I'm talking more like what keeps you motivated to be a better guitar player, a better musician, a better writer, better singer? Where do you get the inspiration to be better tomorrow than today?
Other music. I just being a music fan. I'm a huge music fan. I absolutely. I would much rather sell my guitars than my record collection. Like this is, I absolutely adore music.
Yeah.
So like today, I found this artist on Dan Auerbach's label called Early James, and
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
obsessed with the album he's just put out.
Yeah.
It's a great record, and there's this one song on it. It doesn't matter now, and I've been listening to it, and I was like, just such a great song, and I'm thinking, I want to write a song like that. I want it. That is a great tune, and so it's listening to other people and what they've achieved, and what you can draw from it, not plagiarize, but what you can absorb about it, and that I think that's what keeps me going.
Dude, it's amazing when people can't relate to that. I don't understand. Like, what do you mean you don't have
Hmm.
that inside you? Like where this obsession about music or something just turns you on so much that it takes over your life for 6 days.
Hmm.
This record, or
Yeah.
something. It's like, but people. I mean, dude, in today's day and age, people don't absorb music or even appreciate it the way that we're used to. And we're not
Right.
even the great generation. Think about our parents, really going to buy vinyl and owning all these. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I had to make a trip to a record store. I had to order records, at the beginning because I couldn't get them. I had cassettes out the wazoo, people dubbing me tapes.
Hmm.
My son, your child, will never own records in their whole life. They
Right.
will stream
Well.
everything, and it's lessened the impact that the music then has on them, which is really
Yeah.
disappointing.
It's without, because I can get on a soapbox about this real easy, and I can really kind of hammer home my personal feelings about it. It's not going to change Spotify's bottom line,
Nope.
and it's not going to solve the problems. So I try not to do it. But the devaluing of music is such a problematic thing, and such a frightening prospect that music is a disposable commodity.
Yep.
And that frightens me so much culturally. I wasn't part of that generation you talked to, but the same principles applied. I remember saving up my pocket money, getting the bus into Douglas, the capital, where the only record store was, going and with a finite amount of pocket money, going, I want 10 of these CDs,
Yeah.
but I can only afford one, and really deliberating over which one I'm going to get. And when I decided, it gave me this amazing feeling. I covet this. This is a thing I have earned, and I've completed this circle that the
Yep.
artist has done. And now it's mine to learn from and enjoy. And that's gone.
Yep.
And that sense of coveting something is gone. And that makes me so sad. And
It's
that's why I'm a
it's so
record
sad.
collector.
It's so sad. And I was realizing, so I found a record a few days ago that has like stopped me in my tracks by this guy Emmanuel Wilkins on Blue Note.
Hmm.
And I've listened to it every day for the last few days multiple times. It's probably the had more impact on me than any new record I've heard in at least 2 years. And
Hmm.
I went to think, okay, do I order this on CD? And I realized both the cars we have now have no CD player. My computers no longer have a CD player. I
Yeah.
don't have one in the house anywhere where I would actually
No.
sit down and listen. So then it was like, well, do I order it on vinyl? And it's like, well, my record player broke like a year ago, and I haven't replaced it, because I'm just either I'm home, I'm listening in the studio, or I'm on the go and I'm listening off of an iPad type thing, a player that I
Yeah.
have, and it's like, do I even need to buy this physically? But it's my first initial thought is I have to buy this physically, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what a frustrating feeling that is.
Yeah, I'm a diehard vinyl guy. Not for the sound quality, but because for 40 minutes out of a day where it's normally like this, um, for 40 minutes I can sit down and absorb something else and put myself into an escape. And I think that's vital. So my stance with the whole streaming, the whole that whole argument is not so much the financial thing, but from a human well-being and just what people are missing out on actually that discovery of music in a physical format.
Yep. Yep. And yet, if we don't post our stuff, our music in this world, we get left behind. So it's really disappointing.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's legal piracy. It's an oxymoron, the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because as much as your fans want to support you and say they're going to buy the record, they're really going to listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah, man, and here's it. A lot of the folks that buy the records will say something. Well, I'm a premium subscriber. Here's it doesn't matter, and that's what people don't really realize. For us to earn an hour of minimum wage is about 3,500 plays of one song.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. If that was general knowledge,
Yeah.
maybe we could get something changed. Anyway, what was the question? I'm sorry, mate.
That was it.
Yeah, man.
But it's music that keeps you motivated. Discovery of new
Yeah,
music,
absolutely.
love of music,
Yeah,
and I can relate. All right, number 10. Dude, where do you
yeah.
want to be in 5 years? Is there a 5 year?
Uh,
Do you want to be, is it keep on keeping on? Or do you have like a real goal in mind, a new level you're trying to reach? What's the next big step?
oh man, two answers to this. One, the kind of answer I've always given to this is I just want to keep doing it because it's such an uncertain thing. And now more than ever, it's such an uncertain profession.
Yep.
I want to keep doing this. I love it. I believe wholeheartedly this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Not a religious man. I just feel wholeheartedly that is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep.
But the other side of it is it's a stressful job. It can be an anxiety inducing job, especially from someone who suffers from anxiety at the get-go. It's tough, and so as a result, 5 years, I want to still be doing it, and I want to still be happy doing it. I think that's it.
That's not too much to ask.
I don't think so. But more than anything, you just got to keep your head down and work hard and do what you love, right? In whatever job you're doing. So
Yep. Yeah.
that's what I'd like to do.
Ruling. Well, dude, we reached the end of the 10 questions. For members, join now if you're not a member. And if you are a member, we're going to have our turn 2 video we're going to teach you 2 licks. But for non-members, this is the end of your road. So, Davey, dude, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a pleasure to kind of hear your story. And again, I love what you're doing, man. And I hope when the world gets back to normal, we get together and do some hanging and playing soon.
I'd love that. Thank you so much, mate. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, thank you, man. All right, members, we'll be right back.